Okay, there's me. So now let me just add y'all. Do you ever just forget the audio sources? Oh my lord. Yeah, you're just like, what? Okay. Sorry y'all, sorry y'all. I got y'all. Give me a second. Okay. All right. Say something, y'all.
Hello?
Yes, excellent. Okay, everyone's here.
Nice.
Everyone's here. Everybody should be heard. Okay, that's great. Um, okay,
Perfect.
chat's saying they're good. They hear us. All right, perfect. Okay, so now that there's folks here, there's 6 viewers here. I guess we can get into intros and stuff. So as y'all know in the chat, everybody once again, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Hearst Boys Social Distancing Podcast, episode 22, about Cyberpunk 2077. Dot dot dot. Very ominous. Very, very, very foreboding title. So, um, as y'all can see on the in the chat, the layout is very different. And this episode is gonna be a little different, where it's not so much about me or Hearst Boys in particular. It's more about centering marginalized voices and centering trans voices in this particular episode. And that's what I aim to do. So I'm not even really gonna talk very much. I'm mostly just gonna kind of ask my questions, pose my questions, and and leave it on the table for my guests here to speak amongst themselves mostly. Um, oh my God. Aman has no name. Oh shit. Thank you. Somebody just subbed. That's fantastic. Appreciate it. Wow. With Prime. Great. Wow. Great. Thank you so much. So I'm not gonna talk too much beyond this point. My name is Rainey. Y'all know that. I am joined by Skylark, Malcolm, and Whimsy. Their Twitter handles are right in their badges, and their pronouns are in their badges. So please be sure to address them accordingly. Y'all got no excuse. I put that shit in there for a reason. So, um, so yeah. I just wanna real quick give a quick intro to everybody. So, Skylark at the top, uh, with the really cool animated character. I don't know what those are. I forget what those are called. But
VTubers,
the V.
Vroids.
Okay, yeah, VTuber droid with the sick green hair. Skylark is an artist, comic creator, currently 30 chapters deep, and streamer. Hit up their Twitter for more info on that. We are also joined by Whimsy, artist, streamer, and game developer. You can also hit her Twitter for that. And Malcolm, grad school student for mental health counseling and also a gamer. So thank y'all so much for joining me. Just gonna give y'all a quick round of applause, real quick. Thank y'all so much. Um, real quick before we get into the hard hitting questions, um, how is everyone feeling? How are y'all? Thank you for joining me. And yeah, everybody good. Everybody slept okay. Did everybody have a good night and a good morning so far?
Mostly.
Yeah,
Well, it takes forever to fall asleep, but we're there.
Thanks
yeah.
for having us.
We made it to the next day.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So with the questions, right? Um, just so there's a little bit of structure, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pose the questions, right, and then what I'm gonna
Hmm.
do is we're gonna go in order, whatever order y'all choose, whoever y'all want to go first or whatever, um, to answer them initially, so that everyone gets their initial point across, and then y'all can just kind of go back and bounce off of each other. And then if I have a question or whatever, or if the chat has a question, I'll relay that information. But it's mostly just for y'all. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So cool. So
Sounds
are we ready?
ready.
Yep.
Okay. So um, uh, what are your general feelings? What are your general thoughts and feelings surrounding Cyberpunk 2077? And is this the first time you felt like this about a game that tries to include a trans experience? And if not, what other games have made you feel whatever way you feel about this, or made you feel differently? So we can start with whoever wants to go first. Go ahead, and then we'll just take it from there. Just so long as everybody gets their initial point across.
Who wants to go? I'll go
I can
first.
start. Oh, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Okay.
Okay, cool. Generally, I feel like there was effort placed. It wasn't placed well, but there was the thought was there. And the only other game that made me feel this way was Danganronpa, where the thought was there, but the execution was so far out of left field that it just made it feel like it fell flat. So with Cyberpunk, it's like they hand you the plate, but the plate has no seasoning on it. So there's no love into the meal, right? Um and Danganronpa did the same thing with one of its main characters. So it's like, here's the plate of food, no love, no seasoning, don't even get a side dish. You just get this big hunk of meat and that's it. So I feel like Cyberpunk had the idea, they had the ingredients, they just forgot to put the ingredients in. That's
Hey,
it. That's
again,
all I got.
hey, listen. I meant what I said. This is for y'all. Like y'all take the reins. I'm gonna save my questions for when everybody goes. So, go ahead.
Gotcha.
I'll go next. I feel like this was completely an afterthought, and it almost feels like the execution was, we promised a really cutting edge game. We can't deliver it. So what is a thing that we can put in it to make it seem like it's a new deal? I also don't I don't really feel like what they're doing is trans representation. Like the point of it in my mind was not trans representation. I feel like it was, here's a way to make our character creator seem really cool and cutting edge by adding genitals, which is not a thing that makes a character creator very cool and cutting edge. And I think also for me, I just played Tell Me Why, which is centered on a trans character. They had a trans character voice the trans actor voice the character. They worked with GLAD, and they have a special like video game division. There's a person there whose job it is to help them to ensure that in their games they are, being inclusive, using the right language, not being offensive to anyone as much as possible, because obviously there's going to be someone who's offended about everything. But if the general consensus around something is like, hey, this is bad, and your answer is shut up, like, that's probably not the best response. So I was, at first, I heard about it on Twitter, so I took it with a grain of salt that it was going to be offensive to me, because I just don't ever really gauge how I'm going to feel based off of Twitter reactions, because they're usually just very polarized. But having seen it in action, it is offensive, so to me. So I don't think they put in any real effort to be representative of trans experience at all. I think it was just a way to be evocative, honestly.
I agree.
Same.
Like, you worded it better than I did. It's definitely an afterthought. It's definitely an afterthought, and I agree with how I found out about it. I found out about it through Twitter, so you have to take that with a grain of salt, because Twitter is a breeding ground for, I don't like this one thing, so I'm gonna say that the whole thing is offensive.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, definitely an afterthought. The trans experience is not just genitals. It's not just surgeries. It's not just hormone replacement. It's a lot more. There's an entire world to it, and they just kind of said, what if we made pee-pee big? that was their thought. It's like,
I also want to point out, how is voice, and I genuinely, I've been thinking about this for weeks. I don't understand how cis people are not also offended, or just as offended as trans people, that your voice is what designates your gender. That your voice being within a certain octave range designates whether you are coded as a man or a woman.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that a cis person has ever been on the phone and has been misgendered, or even in public been misgendered based off of their voice.
I've been misgendered multiple times in my streams because my voice training is still pretty on set. So
Yeah, same. But
Exactly.
my mods are really good about that. Like they ban people instantly for anything inkling towards that. And you're right. Coding a voice to designate your gender is not it. It's not representation. It's not the trans experience. It's not inclusive. It's not any of the things that they want it to be. And it's really sad that we are at a point where games have full capability of stepping out of this niche little box that they've been in for the last 30 years, but they refuse to. Like, and this isn't just with trans representation, it's with people of color representation, it's with sorry, it's with aesthetic representation, it's with a lot of different things. And nobody wants to step out of that little Tetris box. Like, 30 years. We've been doing this for 30 years. You would think that we would be more advanced, accepting, and open about everything at this point.
Especially in a game about the future.
Exactly. Exactly. You would think 2077, that's what, 60, 70 something years out from now? No,
57.
57. Not 60,
57, yeah.
Hey, we've all blipped on 2020 this year. Can we just cross 2020 off as a triviality?
I mean,
So it's not it's
to
55 because or 56. We're cutting 2020 out.
to be fair, Blade Runner takes place in 2019.
Yeah.
Y'all remember
I don't
that?
want to think about that. I don't want to think about that.
Hey, if we're being all fair, remember what Back to the Future thought 2015 would be?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep. Hoverboards and all that. Yeah. So
That would
so
be-
Whimsy. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Anybody that didn't
No,
finish?
no, it's okay. Go ahead, Wims.
Yeah. Because Whimsy didn't really chime in too much on the initial question. So yeah, I just want to make sure you get a chance to really get your thoughts out.
Hey, thanks for checking with that. Well, I'll definitely say, Kai, don't knock yourself for the seasoning analogy. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
I remember. So I tend to try and stay a little bit to the sidelines on the Twitter stuff sometimes. So I didn't actually. I kind of went in blind into a lot of the stuff with Cyberpunk. So and it was just a few days ago whenever a good friend of mine, who's also one of my stream mods and co-writers for a lot of stuff, Silver Leray, he started streaming it in our Discord, and I remember the first thought that I had in the character creator was this is, I mean, neat. Kind of gives sorry, buddy, to the non-binary spectrum, but Now, to a degree, I would say that, but that's a later question I saw in the pre look at. But
Thank you.
I don't think that voice alone exactly either helps, just entire identification. Sure, it could be considered fitting for the setting, but at the same time, it's you got people as we've just established, me and Kai, who don't really have our vocal training, or don't have that luxury of being able to flip a switch.
I wish.
Oh, same.
Do y'all feel like because excuse me. Oh, by the way, chat, the burp thing is still very valid. Please drop rainy big head. Please drop rainy big head memes every time you hear me burp. They do it every episode. It's mad funny. But so do y'all think that there's a specific challenge that comes with relaying a trans experience in a video game? Because the thing about heteronormative existence, right, is that for me, it's very much, to be honest, and this is me, I guess, speaking from growing up heteronormative and identifying heteronormative to this day, it's kind of a monolith. Being hetero is kind of it's kind of a monolith, right? It's very kind of cavemanish, where it's boy like girl, that is what happened. You know what I mean? It's a very a one-sided kind of, or it's just two sides to a coin, heteronormative life. You know what I mean? Where so I feel with transness, and I've missed the mark a lot you know, because I view it through a cis hetero lens, and the I think the particular challenge with depicting transness and trying to do justice by transness is that it is so interpersonal and it means so many different things for different people of different identities that like it's almost would you
Oh
say
boy.
that would you
I
say
think
that
my
it's
internet's chugging.
oh
Oh no!
oh
Oh
no
no, Kai!
oh
Am I
no Kai,
back?
stay
Am
with
I
us
back?
Kai, stay with us
I'm
Kai,
trying.
please take my hand
I'm trying
please.
so hard. I'm just gonna disconnect my iPad from the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I'm just
Oh,
gonna disconnect my TV from the Wi-Fi.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So do
Um
y'all yeah, so do y'all feel like with that comes a specific challenge? Like do you feel like there's going to be a way to get it right by everyone? And
No.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's the whole
yeah,
But
there
question.
also, I think they make it harder than it has to be. It
Mhm.
does not have to be that hard. Even in this game, if you wanted to have someone select a gender, ask them. How do you ask somebody what their gender is now? Right? And which is what we've been trying to push for people to do forever.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
you don't know a person's gender, I don't care how they look, until you ask. So in a video game, if you are allowing me to create a character, add a prompt for me to tell you what this person's gender is.
God.
That's
Like
it.
exactly. Like I've seen.
Okay.
Okay, so my fiance and I, we've played like jokingly, just looked at like very shitty dating sims that have had more like
More pronoun options
Yeah.
and gender options than a AAA game. Yeah.
Right.
I agree. And I feel like you're right. Heteronormativity has become a monolith. Like you said it exactly right. It's become such a unmoving thing within society that a lot of people forget that the trans experience and the non-binary experience dates back way before humans
Exactly.
had a gender.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So the one of the fixes to that is to educate yourself on the history, on like for me personally, I have a lot of Native American in me, First Nation in me, and I am always educating myself on how our ancestors identified. And a lot of the chiefs were non-binary or third spirit or second spirit. Yeah, second spirit. And a lot of people even in Africa like identified not with boy or girl. It became such a normal thing when we started becoming as a species kind of cognizant, like kind of able to think with our frontal lobe rather than we hunt, we eat, we live. That when we started to think more, that is when gender started to become a thing. Like that is woman, that is man, man, woman, baby. Like that thought process started to come in very late into humanity,
Mhm.
like as a species, not as a like a society thing. It came in like mid game for a lot of human beings. So educating yourself, having people on your staff that are trans that can actually voice
Yes.
what the trans experience is for them helps a lot. Like I know a lot of a lot of animation work that I try to get into. I try to look for stuff that's looking for people like me.
Mhm.
So a lot of people that are trans or non-binary that have had these experiences that can voice these experiences to help move a story along.
Mhm.
Um, and that's what a lot of these game developers, in my opinion, need to start doing. They need to start hiring trans voices to voice the experiences. Like it's really not that hard. A lot of us are looking for work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which goes right into sorry, did before I go into this like next like little sub question, did Malcolm or Whimsy want to add anything to that particular point or
uh, I think that at least I personally think that Kai hit the nail on the head a bit with that one.
okay.
I also think further, and I'm gonna keep going back to this. In a
Mm.
game about a future where you can modify any part of your body, humanity as a construct
Mhm.
has changed. people's
Definitely.
understanding of what a human being just completely is has changed. So the idea that the construct of gender is still exactly the same in this
Yeah.
speculative future as it is now, to me, is ridiculous.
Okay.
Like, if
Don't get
nothing
wait
has
wait wait
moved
wait.
forward.
I'm sorry. Don't go.
I'm sorry,
Don't get too deep into it, because that's like a later question,
I
and
know, I know.
I would love y'all to get crazy when when the time comes.
But I
But
just, I was
I'm
just
so
saying,
happy
to
you brought
Sky's
it up though.
point,
Yes,
to
I'm
Sky's
so
It'll be
happy
point,
you
a
brought it up.
while.
we're working on a construct right now that has been built up over time based on religious influence, based on, like puritanical ideas, based on misogyny, based on patriarchy. That is where our understanding of gender comes from. That's not even actually what gender is. So I think that's
Exactly.
when you, to what Sky said, if you had a trans person, someone of trans experience in the rooms to say, and then also being listened to, because I think that's the other problem, and that's what comes into it when in anyone who is from a group that is being marginalized, they
Hmm.
might put them in the room to say on paper they had them in the room, but their voice is not being heard. So you also have to have them in the room and listen, which are two completely different things, and I think that those two things aren't always what happens.
That's what gets people in trouble too. Is they'll put them in the room, but they won't listen, and then they end up in hot water. So if
Right.
you're a game developer or a writer or a producer of any kind, and you put people in the room, don't just put them in the room. Actually, listen to them.
It's
It
not
makes
hard.
your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Whimsy.
It's not hard to listen to. Like, again, it's really not hard to listen to just how many people can be vocal about this, especially someone that you've taken the effort to bring in onto your team for this exact purpose. Don't. It's not just like a figure trophy or something. They're a voice. Let them help. That's fine.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. No, that's actually perfect because and by the way, I'm if you see me looking down, I'm actually retweeting the link to this stream right now on my actual Twitter. So don't worry, I'm not I am actively listening to y'all. Don't worry, because
No, you're multitasking. It's fine.
this was like the point of that whole that whole point was motherfuckers don't listen, and I'm over here like, yeah. But no, but yeah, okay. So my next little like sub point after this after question one, and we'll move on to the next one. Can a cis development team, or can a cis development team do trans identity justice, or is it a night and day thing with regard to trans folks actually being in the writers room and on the development team and being listened to? Like, if, for example, like with everything, with all the steps that I take, with everything I know, there's still a million things I don't, right?
Mhm.
So theoretically, could I get it right with no input from trans folks at all? Like, does that, like, is there a world where that works ever?
Um,
And if you know, and if you know any examples of a game that's like, yeah, this is cool, right? And then you look at the development team or whatever, and there's not exactly a whole bunch of trans representation there. Like, if you can think of an example that does get it right, please let me know.
I don't have any examples myself. As for the question itself, though, I think it's just similarly case to case. Like, some people out there may be completely, completely like blank, completely no clue,
Mhm.
and that definitely be a lot harder. But some out there that may be, cis hetero themselves may know, or at least have personal contact with people among the spectrum, or at least have seen it firsthand. So it again ties into that everyone is different in their own way.
Mhm.
Everyone could get it right, or they could completely swing and hit the usher instead of the ball.
But I think to that point that excludes them from being in a space of not including a trans voice,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that someone who is not in community with trans people, someone who does not leave space for trans people to voice their opinions, can go and create something that will represent a trans person correctly. I
Definitely.
guarantee you that anything that you have seen media wise and across because I'm always gonna bring blackness into this. I'm a black person and a trans person, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't want a bunch
Valid.
of white people in a room to write a black story. I don't want a bunch of cis people in a room to write a trans story. Like, I don't think that you can write a story about someone else without knowing intimately at least a person who can sit with you with the thing that you created and help you go through it and say, well, actually, no, that's not right. That doesn't feel right. Maybe you should look at it this way. Maybe this should change. It's better if you just have the trans person next to you helping you do it. But if that is not the case, if you do not include someone of trans experience in what you're doing at some point, it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna. It's not going to be correctly representative. And it's effort. Like, you have to put the effort in. And I don't think that anyone who is going to make the effort of trying to be inclusive to a trans person is starting off from the same place of a person who's just like,
Oh,
I
definitely.
read this thing on Google, so
Mhm.
I know what it means and I'm good and I can just
I
go to work
Google
myself.
searched it and I found
But
it on
then-
the Pride wiki.
No, but then like here's where like my issue, and I guess a lot of cis people that try to like be allies or whatever, and I fucking hate that word. Like, I will never listen. You will listen. Two things you will never catch me calling myself is an ally and a feminist. It's just it doesn't like I will go up for trans folks. I'll go up for women all day, but I will never put that sash on myself like yeah, like, look at all this work I'm doing. Like, no, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I'll let those folks, I'll let y'all folks do that. You know what I mean? Like, if I earn that, so be it. But this is where the issue lies with a lot of like cis folks, right? Because it's like we get, I mean, a lot of people, rightfully so, get yelled at, and we'll move on to the next question after this. But a lot of cis folks, again, deservedly get yelled at on Twitter, especially for being dickheads, right? And then it's like, okay, well, a lot of the time it's like, oh well, I didn't really know, and then the answer is always, oh well, Google is free. Yeah, but then at the same time, like, you kind of need that interpersonal, like, I need to hear that shit from a human being. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
like Google's not gonna have all the answers. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
the one article is coming from one person. That's you know what I mean? Like, that's one person. Like, it's an interpersonal issue. So like, I would not have learned all of the things that I've learned up until this point with just Google alone, right? And I
Yeah.
still am learning a ton, but it's not coming from fucking Google. I'm sorry. Like, it's coming from the real situations that I find myself in and the real conversations I'm having, right? So like, so I think that so yeah, that I think the whole Google is free thing, absolutely throw that shit at people who are just being fucking assholes to be assholes, being transphobic to be transphobic.
Yeah.
Fuck them, right? But
Mhm.
but I think, I don't know, I just feel like there's space to have a conversation to someone who is actually really willing to sit there and have it and listen. I think.
Yeah.
I think
That's
also,
where
go ahead.
okay. That's where the whole Twitter thing becomes very blackened and toxic and like a shitty cesspool of
Yeah.
people that don't know, people that want to know, people that want to be dickheads to be dickheads, people that it just becomes this miasma of bullshit. And from my experience alone, I've had teachers, like, I came out in high school. I've had teachers that just genuinely didn't like me, that would use me being trans and my transness as fuel to throw at me because they didn't like me. Then I got into college and I had professors that were genuinely like, I've never had a trans student. How do I do this right? And then I've had people in my family that use my transness and throw it in my face. I also come from a black family, and black family and LGBT, for some reason, that's a whole other conversation I can have on another day, but it's just butting heads constantly. But I've also had friends that are just like, hey, you came to me with this very sensitive information and you trust me, so I'm going to do everything in my power to educate myself, educate others around me. And then you get to Twitter. You get to Twitter and it's like, I'm going to be a dickhead to be a dickhead, or I'm going to ask you a question and you can take it how you want to take it, but I genuinely want to know.
Yeah.
And the other side of the coin is there are trans people that are also dickheads, and it's not all of them. It's not ever going to be all of them, but a lot of other trans people that I've seen, I haven't spoken to them, I don't interact with that shit, but a lot of other trans people that I've seen on Twitter that have had those interactions are also being dickheads to be dickheads. Like it's like a 20-sided die. You roll and you see what happens.
Yeah.
It becomes like Twitter, it in and of itself becomes just this toxic wasteland of, I don't know if I'm going to step on a landmine or if I'm walking in with a hand grenade. Like I don't know where I'm going from here.
Yeah.
So to that end, a lot of people need to realize that every time you interact with somebody on Twitter, it's situational. You don't know if they're having a good day. You don't know if they're having a bad day. You don't know if they've been bombarded with a billion questions. You don't know if they've had no interaction that day at all. It's the same in the art community. A lot of people will ask questions, and then a lot of more popular artists will be like, well, Google it. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. It's the answer in and of itself could be a lot more personable. It could be, well, I don't know exactly where I found this information anymore, but I'm sure you can find it on a search engine. Like if you don't know at that point, then you can redirect. But if you want to have that conversation, and if you have the information to give that person, give it to them. It's as simple as that. But then you have, again, the dickheads being dickheads to be dickheads.
Yeah, Malcolm, go ahead.
Though it's also very labor intensive. To always be the person who is providing answers about your humanity to someone else. There are questions that cis people ask of trans people that they think are just questions, but might even be something very triggering to their dysphoria. Might be something that has been thrown at them to discredit who they are. You know, like these are a lot of things that they may be thinking about constantly, because I don't know a trans person who doesn't daily think about gender, because you have to, especially when you're interacting with other people. It's always something that's being thrown at you. So to be expected, like you said, at all times, to be receptive to providing people especially a lot of times, it's very basic things. Right? Why are pronouns important? Why, what surgery? Those kinds of things that are also very intrusive. Like, I'm not answering those things for you on this platform when I know that it's really just coming from this place of where it's not the stakes are not as high for you when this conversation is being had.
You're also like a total stranger. Right? Like
Exactly.
Yeah. But even with friends, even with people I've known for years, there are questions that I'm just not going to answer for you, because also these are not questions that you would have asked me before I came out. So why are you asking them of me now? That was not our relationship before. It's not going to be our relationship now because you have this new information about me.
Exactly. And I agree 100%. If it's a stranger, I am not required to tell you anything about my gender or my gender identity or my gender representation. I'm not required to. If I choose to, that's on me. But if you are coming at me 50 different ways, like some samurai with some dumb fast moves, I'm not going to answer any of your questions. Like, I feel like a lot of people have this expectation because they have this mentality of there's this weird new thing that I need to know about because I need to know about it because everybody else knows about it, and it's a trending thing when it's not. It's been around forever.
Okay.
It becomes very, like Malcolm said, it becomes very heavy to answer all these questions, and most of the questions, without meaning to, become very intrusive.
Yeah.
Like you want to know, you want that information, and you want to educate yourself, but you need to know your boundaries. You
Yeah.
need to know the other person's boundaries. If you're asking questions, don't ask me about surgeries. Don't ask me about HRT. Don't ask me if I'm AFAB or AMAB. Don't ask me invasive questions because you're not going to get answers.
Mm. I want to go to Whimsy just to see if she has anything to add. Just because we haven't heard from her in a long time, or
Oh,
in
no.
a little bit. No, are you okay? Can we get to the next question?
Next question away.
Yeah.
I think that both Sky and Malcolm covered that pretty fantastically.
Okay. We're actually which it's funny because the second question plays into some of this kind of Twitter shit a little bit.
I know.
So
It's like-
yeah. So so I actually want to start with Whimsy on this one. So without outing anyone in particular, just for and this is just for our viewers in the chat because they don't know what the questions are, but without outing anyone in particular, I've seen very polarizing views on Twitter. But that platform hasn't exactly been the best about nuance, right? So on Twitter, and this is something I heard from a trans voice, it's just, and I quote, not that deep, and all the issues surrounding Cyberpunk's handling of trans identity and trans inclusion are not a deal breaker for some folks, and there's nothing more to it. Or, and again, this is another thing that I've heard from another trans voice, so it's either it's not that deep and it's not a deal breaker for some people and that's just fine, or you completely renounced it, and if you play it at all, you simply don't care about trans folks. Where do y'all stand on this particular piece of the conversation and why? So I'm gonna start with Whimsy.
Ooh, a bit of a landmine there.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm off in hard mode here. Let's see. Okay. Uh,
So just for context, real quick. So the latter point, the trans person that said that was like, instead of buying Cyberpunk, give a trans person $70. Give a trans person $60. However much it costs, right?
Shit, I'll take $70.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that was their point, that it was just like, you could consume this media that commodifies us, or you could give us that bread outright. And if you but the more like polarizing part of that view was the whole, if you consume this at all, you don't give a fuck about trans people. Like you don't, because this narrative aids in harming trans people. So where do y'all stand in that particular sort of in that piece of the conversation? Because there's nuance there, but Twitter's not the best with that. So Whimsy, let's take it from here.
hard mode. Let's go. Okay. Um. Personally, I mean, so just to make sure, like, I. Ooh, it's a very tough question again, because again, someone's going to be upset with what I say no matter what. So,
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Hey, don't worry about it. You don't have to be perfect. Least of all for me. You know what I mean? And the chat is the chat is understanding. Listen, we're good. We're good. So you could show up as you are. I mean, I fuck up all the time. Everybody fucks up all the time. Just say what you want to say, and if you'd rather not answer it, that's totally fine. You're 100% not. Not required.
I'd say that honestly, to a very strong point, that the whole reason it's as polarized as it is that Project Red made a horrible mistake by just trying to plaster it in their marketing that this was something to connect to trans people. Because again, we've seen it's very surface level. The game itself, if you want to play it, if you want to enjoy it, go for it by all means. I mean, I've given it a shot. I couldn't buy it myself, but one of my fiance's dearest friends got it for him as an early Christmas gift, and well, it's an alright game, and again, it's fine if you want to experience it that way, but don't go in thinking that this is a trans experience or that this is anything really on transgender people. Because again, it is a very shallow representation of it. Again, we've said before that it doesn't even get into the binary spectrum or the non-binary.
Yeah.
It just I don't agree with that strong of a statement that if you play this you don't care about trans people. However, I will say again, Project Red really shouldn't have gone in with that in mind and like, hey, let's just slap a trans sticker on this and call it a day.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Malcolm.
I think Twitter is made for extremes
Definitely.
to get engagement, right? So people are going to make extreme statements to get their point across. I think also because you can't do nuance on Twitter, so they want you to know they're upset. So they're going to use the strongest language they can to let you know that they're upset. I can see both views. There's also things that I am willing to engage with other trans people on and have maybe like an argument or back and forth with, and I can understand their views that I just won't have with cis people. So in those cases, like I would get why someone would say it's not that big of a deal, because there are, in the grand scheme of things, yes, like real tangible, violent things that we are trying to fix. But then also, the media that you take in tells you how to react to things in real life a lot of times, right? So people get, especially people who think, because I guarantee you, anyone who says I've never met a trans person, that's a complete lie. That person just didn't out themselves to you. So people who think they've never met a trans person or have never been around a trans person, never seen a trans person, if they see this thing and that's where they're getting their idea of what transness is, then that will translate into their real world experience of what transness is. So in that extent, I think it's a dangerous thing, because this is not what transness is, and it's another reduction of transness, especially trans womanhood, to a body and body parts and sexualization, right? Like I've looked at gameplay of this thing, and that poster that they use in their ads, it's like they took the extra development time to put that poster everywhere on the maps. That poster is more prevalent in that game than any other fake advertisement in that game. So it's like they tripled down on making sure that you saw this, because look what we did. I think you should always give trans people money.
No, yeah, of course.
You're gonna buy the game or not, buy the game and give them the money that as well. But I just, I mean, you call it penance. I don't know, but I think that as long as you are also, again, listening, like if you want to play the game and you're worried about being shamed for it or whatever, I say take the shame. Honestly, if someone's telling you like, hey, this is harmful, this is why it's harmful, this is why the way they treat gender is wrong, all of those things, be receptive of that. Take that in as you're playing the game. And also, I don't think the game is worth a lot of the arguments that are being had. Like, this is a terrible launch also, right? Like, I think it's really hilarious that people spent all of this, almost a year, literally, like, fighting with trans people online about a game that ended up not even really being that good. Like, there's nothing new in this game. So, it's okay if you don't play it or you do, but understand that what you're giving your money to is harmful in ways to trans people.
Okay. Sky?
Sorry. So I agree 100% with both Malcolm and Whimsy. And I'm going to go back to what Whimsy said about the advertising. I was forced to learn advertising through high school and through college, and they flubbed it. They flubbed it so hard. Project Red literally advertised this game as this innovative, breathtaking, amazing, mind-blowing experience where trans people can be themselves, and that was a lie. Which is commonplace for advertising. Don't get me wrong. It's very frequent in advertising.
Mhm.
But they took it to a level that just was unnecessary, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with all of that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Whimsy, you had something else to add?
I was just gonna say that it's just again, it feels like at the end of it, they slapped like you got Cyberpunk 2077, this car or whatever, ready to go. They slapped a trans pride bumper sticker on it upside down at the last minute.
Sideways.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
The
god.
flag,
Oh, yeah,
the
we
flag's
forgot.
reversible.
Yeah.
The sideways, right onto the car.
So with that said, right, are we ready to move on to question 3? And by the way, I know
I was
we all agreed to an hour. It might go longer than that. Are y'all okay with that, or should we like really stick to the hour?
No,
I
no,
mean, we
no.
can do like another half hour. Yeah.
Another half hour.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, great, because that leaves time for y'all. But Skylark, you were beginning to say something just now.
Yeah. My last thing with that is Malcolm's absolutely right. The trans experience cannot be narrowed down to whatever Project Red was trying to narrow it down to, and slapping a poster all over the game and just doing all that stuff. That's not it. That's not transness at all. It's like, you know how when you make pudding it gets that nice thin layer of pudding skin on top?
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what
Your analogies, Sky, are amazing.
Oh,
That's what
this
I
is
do.
great.
That's what I
great.
do.
Then
but
that's so good. I've not had breakfast yet. So.
yeah, yeah. The other thing is the game had to be patched 4 times already. You released a game that wasn't ready to be released. We would have waited. You could have waited. You pushed the release already.
Yeah.
Cool. I get it. Financially, it wouldn't have been the smart thing to do. But you released a game that wasn't ready. You tried to take on a lot, and then you put out something that ended up needing to be patched anyway. So you kind of put your foot in your mouth when it comes to our game is amazing and ready to launch. Bro, I saw a car blast through somebody and then flip over into the next section of the map.
Oh my
What are
god!
you doing?
My first boot up of
Wow.
the game, my computer, it's like it's a 2-year-old, but it's a very high end laptop. Like Kai, you've seen this monster.
Yeah.
I had plants, just attack of the plants, like through my rendering in every direction. I couldn't drive in the starting segment of the game because I had plants, just like not where they should be. Like the ground shouldn't have rendered them across that way. But that's
exactly.
Like,
I watched
ramming into this building I couldn't see.
Yeah, I watched my friend Caleb Blue Sox. I watched him play it, and the LODs weren't loading. So we couldn't use certain items. Like he was going to the fast transport places, and the item wouldn't render fully, so he couldn't use them.
Hold on, real quick, Sky. You got a hashtag going in the chat. You got Skylark for president going in the chat.
Oh no!
Nice.
Oh, no!
For president. I'm moving this to Twitter.
Please don't! No!
Yeah, Skylark.
No,
Yeah.
not like my mom.
Listen.
My mom's like, you should go be a politician. I'm like,
Listen, hey, Skylark, you did that. You deserve it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't think y'all are ready for that. I don't think y'all are ready for that.
Yeah, no, I think every, as usual, all the points you guys or y'all are making are very eye-opening for me. So thank you so much for once again, thank you so much for agreeing to be on here. Are we ready? Are we ready for question was it 3? Yeah, are we ready for question?
I think we touched on 3 quite a bit.
We did,
but
right?
I feel like there's more to say about 3.
Okay. So so again, just for our viewers in the chat. So question 3 is, how could CD Projekt Red have made it more apparent that they actually care about trans representation that they went so hard to market for, right? Like, for example, the character customization makes it so that you can have breasts and a penis at the same time, and it feels like a very shallow attempt at inclusion, considering transness is deeper than genitalia. So, what feature or foresight would you have liked to see in the development process, and how would that have changed your opinion, if at all? And for this question, let's start with Malcolm.
I think literally what I said earlier just allow people to choose to what their pronouns are, or even if you just say what's your gender and include a non-binary option, but just allow people to select what they want for their character and then play the game. Don't use any sort of physical characteristic to designate gender, because I don't know how many times people have to say that physical characteristics don't have anything to do with gender. The two things are completely separate. So just give me the option to select which one I want, and then we can move on from there. It's a very simple thing to do, and I think because to get it right, especially this is when you can tell if this person has not engaged with the trans person, because they have made up this like points in their mind of what you need to do to get the representation right. And so they're like, well, obviously it's about secondary sex characteristics and making sure they're mismatched. So we'll do that, and then it's like, what? Like, no, that is not. Please stop. Like, please stop doing all
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
Just like none of this is no. And if you even just had that conversation, someone simply would have just been like, why don't you just let them select their pronouns? And then you could have avoided a ton of problems. That's it.
Real quick, Loop Zop Wop just gifted 5 subs. So wow, thank you
Yeah,
so much.
man.
And it was yeah, wow, that was that was great. So thank you. And one of them was to Whimsy. So yeah, thanks so much for that. That was great. Really appreciate that. I'm sorry. We can carry on. Thank you.
Hey, it's all good.
Uh, it's so simple. It is so simple. I've made dating sims that are better equipped to represent trans people than what this, like you said, this shallow attempt at representation was. Literally just give us the option to pick our pronouns.
Yeah.
And like spend the extra time instead of spending the time in the character creator, putting development into the character creator to add all these genitalia options. Put some time into having your voice actors record lines of 1, 2, 3 different pronouns. Like it's
Exactly.
And most people that use secondary pronouns, quote unquote, typically they use 2 different sets, like me and like Malcolm, where we use he and they rather than just he and him.
Yeah, I think it's so funny that, like, you know, games have these like often long and arduous like development cycles and stuff like that. But like like for example, like movies take way less time to make, right? So, but in John Wick 3, Asia Kate Dillon is a non-binary person who plays, I think, one of the assassins or something like that in John Wick 3. So what they did was, Asia kind of just brought up the fact that they're non-binary, so they just removed all gendered language from the script revolving around this character, like just so that the character reflects the person. And I thought that's really cool because like it's that easy. Like it really is. It really is that easy.
It is.
Yeah, like they brought it up and was like, "Hey, I'm non-binary. I feel like my character should be." And they were like, "Say no more. Done." Like no gendered language surrounding
say no more
Kate.
Royalty.
Yeah. Say no gendered language surrounding Asia Kate Dillon's character. Period. And I feel like if a movie that takes like a year to make or 2 years to make, depending on the budget, and is like an hour and 45 minutes and his entire experience can do that, then I feel like a game 9 years deep in development and could definitely like get it right. Yeah.
That's something that really frustrates me is 9 years. It took you guys 9 years and y'all couldn't get it right. Like this is what confuses me. Like Kingdom Hearts took 9 years to come out. Like I'm obsessed with Kingdom Hearts. You can ask Whimsy. We got in trouble having a conversation about it in class once. It was
that was funny though.
But literally that game has more fluff and more context, and if given the opportunity, they probably would have added representation in. But 9 years to develop a game and you still get it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and you advertise like you got it right, like
Right, that's the
there's
thing.
a disconnect there. There's a definite disconnect there. And to what Malcolm said, they tried to fit this narrative in, but they had no experience with that narrative.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like how Friday and Friday After Next and Next Friday, you know that those movies were not, there were not one black person in the writers room for
Oh,
those.
of course, yeah. Friday was Ice Cube's passion project.
Yeah.
Friday
Yeah.
fucking Ice Cube came out of pocket to make that fucking movie, and then
Yeah.
and you could tell they got all the budget in the world for the next ones, but it was
Uh-huh.
none of the same soul. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's that experience. So
Mhm.
like, as a black kid growing up and seeing that, you're like, I don't know what this experience is. This is kind of weird. I have cookouts, and the only thing that happens is my aunties play craps, and I have to watch the children.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like this is weird, but it's like that. You need the person there. You
Mhm.
can't go to a store and just like, well, now you can, but before when they first started the development, you couldn't go to a store and just, check out at the checkout without a cashier being there,
Yeah.
or without somebody being there to run the self checkout. That's where it's at. You have to have those voices in the room, and you have to actively listen to them. You can't just sit there and say, well, they're here, they showed up, they get marks for attendance. No.
Yeah.
Opinions matter when it comes to game development
Mm-hmm.
and storytelling. Like, you can't just be like, well, they're here. Hey, Bill over in development, can you add a penis slider? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Isn't it not even a slider? Isn't it just like you got
Oh yeah, your 3 penis
Yeah.
options. All 3 penis sizes in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like they looked all over. They looked all over, and they were like, "Yep, these are the 3," and like, they just kind of.
They looked in their development room and they're like,
Yeah.
yep, that's 3 of them. 3. 1, 2, 3. That's
One
it.
vagina.
Oh
by the
my
way.
God.
It's like 3 penises, 1 vagina, or Barbie doll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. When I was watching my friend play, I had to walk away while he was doing the last bit of character creation, and he clicked through all the genitals, and he was like, "It's not even worth it." And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
all right."
Yeah. No, that's definitely rough. That's definitely fucking rough. But so Whimsy, do you have anything to add to this, or can we move on to question 4?
I'd say we've hit all our bases pretty dang well. I mean, again, if one strong voice could have just prevented this entire train wreck, be it on the marketing team, be it on the actual development team on this whole thing, one strong trans voice could have just been like, yo, the fuck.
Yeah, it's funny because Rubber Stamped made that point. I think the biggest Rubber Stamp, they said that I think the biggest thing that became clear post launch is that the marketing and development teams clearly never talk to each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So okay, so that's definitely a good point. All right, so we actually just hit an hour. We're 2 seconds into an hour. And
right.
I think 30 minutes is enough time to hit the last 2 questions for sure.
Definitely.
So question 4, and this time I'm going to start with Skylark. Defenders of Cyberpunk 2077 have claimed that in the world that Cyberpunk paints, transness is indeed a commodity because of how accessible and available body mods are in this fictional world. Things like body dysmorphia don't exist in a world where you could literally change whatever you don't like in our real life at the click of a button, but in the world of Cyberpunk you go to a lab or whatever. I don't own the game, but you do whatever you do. And
I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
and thus transness sort of becomes a commodity because bodies and body parts are a commodity. So what are your feelings on this? Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. This question
Me
made
too.
me lightheaded. So let me put it into perspective of
Yeah.
the Nintendo gamers.
Mhm.
Zelda's a thing that exists.
Mm-hmm.
If the world were to suddenly just become bokoblins, moblins, Ganon trying to destroy everything, and you have to go out and find a magic sword is not going to be a commodity. It's a magic sword. There's only going to be one, right?
Uh-huh.
Transness doesn't become a commodity in this world. That kind of stuff doesn't go away. It becomes easier to manage. Just like before in past times, transness wasn't a commodity. And then we get up into modern times where we have modern medicine, modern sciences. You don't lose transness. It becomes easier to manage. Not in America, because, we got to pay like $10,000 just to get a shot in the thigh. I have a whole thing about the healthcare system here.
As you should.
But it doesn't become a commodity. It becomes easier to manage. In the world that 2077 paints, it doesn't become a commodity. It becomes easier to manage. You have the option to go to a Ripper doctor where he can take apart and put you back together in a way that fits you, that feels right for you. And that is what, in some experiences, transness is. Putting yourself back together in a way that feels right. Like, you don't have to feel like your entire life you've been walking down this path that was paved for you, but you're looking over to the left where you see this other path that looks perfect. Everything about it is perfect for you. It doesn't commoditize it. It doesn't make things like body dysmorphia go away.
Yeah.
Right.
And to that end, body dysmorphia is a case-by-case thing. I don't experience body dysmorphia the same way Malcolm or Whimsy does.
Right.
I have complete neutral feelings on my body. There are parts that if I could just take them off and throw them out the window, I would. But it doesn't become like it in a few years, because 2077 is not that far off, and I'm sure we'll be alive. We won't be very, young and spry, but we'll be alive. And this is if this is something that would happen in the future, it wouldn't change. It wouldn't change anything. We wouldn't be like running to these back alley doctors and being like, "Yo, doc, I need these tits taken off now." It wouldn't work like that. It would literally just be the same thing as always.
I'm dead.
Like, when I first came out, not even when I came out, I think long before I came out, me and my friend used to joke, because I'm not plus sized, but I'm on that cusp. But I do have a heavy set chest. And my friend used to joke, and they're like, "Oh, will you donate some breasts to me?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, if you want them, take them. I don't need them. This is too much."
Yeah.
So having something like that in the future would be an amazing thing. Like, being able to donate to trans women, or women that have had to deal with breast cancer and had to get double mastectomies, people that have had to lose breast tissue, and you can donate into, into their cause, as long as your bodies are capable, just like a blood transfusion. If the blood's not linking up, you can't do the transfusion.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, you can't say that something that has been commonplace for hundreds and thousands of years, just because one small thing changes or one system changes, it becomes a commodity.
Yeah.
Grocery stores aren't going to become a commodity. They're going to remain a necessity, right?
Yeah.
Words. But it's just that kind of thinking becomes toxic for the community. It negates the community. And it's the same way of thinking, like, oh, in the future, everybody's going to be pansexual and everybody's going to want to be with everybody. And there's not going to be that boundary of of humanity where one sex and the other sex have to rule them all, and we have the ability to, you know, morph and become one with our spiritual ancestors, and we don't need sexuality anymore, so everybody's just gonna love everybody. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. So I disagree with that completely. Like, defenders, I get it. You are probably the kind of people that to the bitter end will defend a game even if the game isn't like 100%, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it. You have that opinion and you're going to stick with that opinion. Just know that your opinion is based on that, an opinion, not a fact.
Yeah. Okay. Whimsy, anything to add to that effect?
That was a. I mean, I. First off, Kai, or Sky, holy shit, that's just
Yeah.
But I entirely agree with that. Now, you know what? I'm going to just very briefly play devil's advocate here.
Mhm.
World building, the setting, yeah, you've got all this technological prowess, and this means like human bodies. Like, okay, so I can speak with the experience because I made sure, like, I might not have slept very much last night because I was like, okay, if I'm going in to speak on this, I at least want to have an idea of what the game's like. So,
Mhm.
my fiance, he was very kind to let me play the game from his account for a little while, and they have a scene where it's so seamless that an implant, like just a few minutes, an implant that completely reworked how someone's hand could handle ballistics.
Mhm.
The thing is, through all of that, it doesn't, as Kai said, it doesn't make transness a commodity. It doesn't change that dysphoria, that feel, that it. You have all this technology. You may have this setting that could so and so create a, you know, place where bodies are that malleable, but that doesn't change the fact that, well, again, for one, it doesn't erase non-binary individuals.
Mhm.
Mhm. Exactly.
It doesn't cover that whatsoever, honestly. We never exactly see a direct, like, we don't really see much of anything that really hammers in again that it's. Sorry, it's a lot of words flooding to my head at once.
No, it's totally fine. And
Yeah,
like
you're
like
fine.
I said, like you this is again, this is for y'all. So if you would rather I come back to you, that's totally fine. Or if you'd rather not go any further, that's perfectly fine too. This is not a performance. I'm not, like
Of course.
I don't expect anything
Yeah.
of y'all. You know what I mean? Like this is a platform for y'all to talk on y'all terms. You know what I mean? So if you'd rather I move on to Malcolm or move on to the next question, you know what I mean? That's totally fine too.
Malcolm could take the wheels for a bit while I just try to word this correctly because it's
Sure,
like
yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, of course.
So I think that we have altered language to a point to fit a narrative, and body dysmorphia is not gender dysphoria. The
Hmm.
two terms are not interchangeable. They don't mean the same thing. Clinically, they don't mean the same thing. And a person is not trans because of body dysmorphia, and gender dysphoria is actually not about a person's body.
Mm.
So you do not have to be trans to experience body dysmorphia, right? A person who has like 1% body fat and has a compulsion to work out 9 hours a day because if they let their body be altered in any way, the world will end. And when they look at themselves, they don't see the thing that they worked those 9 hours for, and they keep doing it. They keep it. That's a person who is dealing with body dysmorphia. That doesn't even go away in this world, right? Because
Mhm.
that is a mental health thing. That is not a I can go and alter my body. We also live in a world where if you have the money, body modification is readily available and
Mm.
a lot of people take advantage of it. You can point to a ton of people on Instagram whose bodies they have now are not the bodies they were born with, and that has nothing to do with gender.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with my body's not right, and I'm gonna go do the things. I'm gonna pay someone to alter my body so that it feels right. Again, that's not a trans thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gender dysphoria comes from I am who I say I am, but the world is telling me that I am wrong, and I am depressed and anxious and dealing with suicidal ideation because I am not being allowed to be my authentic self.
Mm.
A person can experience that and, like was said, never have an issue with their body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some people use the language of my body felt wrong, so I did this thing and now I feel better. That is not everyone's story of transness, and you don't have to feel that way to be trans. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying that, but I stand strong in
Listen,
that.
I'm with you, Malcolm. I'm with you 100%. If somebody comes at you,
But
just send them my way.
I
Say,
stand strong in that. Your body is not what makes you trans. It's just not. It's gender. It has nothing to do with the body, and I need us to separate that out. I need us to understand that gender is not a thing that has to do with body parts, and especially using the word transgender when trying to explain that negates an experience of millions of people.
Mhm.
There are a lot more people, I think, if we fully understood the separation between gender and the body, who would go, oh, maybe my gender is not what I thought it was because I'm no longer associating my gender with my body. A
Mhm.
lot of people would explore gender in different ways if they understood that separation.
Mhm.
Everyone's living on a spectrum. I'm not saying that there are not people in the world who were assigned male at birth, feel male, will always feel male.
Mhm.
But what we say male is differs across culture, differs across region, and those things need to be taken into account as well.
Mhm.
None of that changes in this game. And honestly, what this if this game was called Steampunk 1944,
Yeah.
it would be the same exact game. Like
Yeah.
this game is no they put a skin over everything that we already talk about now.
Mhm.
This is not speculative fiction. This is, hey guys, let's talk about everything that's happening right now and let's just make it techno and pretty and colorful. That's all
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah.
The game's
Yeah.
not even doing anything like cutting edge. Like I said, there's nothing new. There's not even anything new RPG wise going on in this game. I could go to the Dragon Age Inquisition character creator right now and create a Beyonce elf, and I cannot go into Cyberpunk 2077 and create a Beyonce anything because it's literally presets.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
presets.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
it
they
is.
didn't even put in Dragon Age
Oh my
Inquisition is like
God.
7 years old, and I can go in there right now and create like my mom and play with my mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that game, I could not do that in
I
Cyberpunk. So like, it's not giving what they said it was going to give, and
Yeah.
that's you know.
Go ahead,
Agreed.
go ahead, Whimsy.
Oh
Go
my
ahead,
God.
go ahead, because because
Hey,
I feel like
thank
you
you
got your
so much.
bearings now. So go ahead,
Definitely.
let's hear it.
Thank you so much, by the way, Malcolm, for that. I
Yeah.
think that voiced up a lot of what I just couldn't put into word good because unfortunately my caffeine is doing shit for me right now. But but oh my goodness, it really what you just said there. I'm for one thinking about how cool a steampunk kind of game would be,
Yeah.
but also, you know what I've realized that it just hit me while I was playing the game briefly. I kept hitting E to try and take inventory. You know why? Because it clicked in my head. This kind of feels like just Fallout 4. It kind of just has, and I'm going to get shot on the internet for this. Probably, I'm going to have hands thrown at me. But I felt like a lot of I'm not going to get into the gameplay elements, but especially with the whole fact that it's all presets, like even less so what Fallout had because there's not a slider. It's just you choose different lip, different eye type, scar. Not even that in-depth scar. Can't even like change the fading of it. It
Right.
really, and again, it really just none of it feels like it connects to that trans experience. None of it does. Again,
Can
as
I
we-
just I'm sorry, real quick. There's a section of the chat that I think hits the nail on the head really well. But Whimsy, go ahead and finish your point. I just want to see how you feel about this once you've made your point. I'm sorry.
I think I see the exact message there, but I'll leave that to you. But like, just again, doesn't come down to the body itself, and trying to say that it's like a commodity that erases a part of what makes someone trans. That separation of identity from the body that you inhabit.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, it's just, again, what they've done again is they've just funneled it down the two-way avenue again too.
Mhm.
Just and based on your voice too. Now, again, world that can change your vocal cords pretty easily, maybe, but suspension of disbelief there. But at the same time, again, that does still give like a middle finger to actual real life trans people that have to deal with that in the day to day, that have to start a stream and like constantly explain, or whenever like someone from the community just first time hearing voice is like, I thought Whimsy was a girl. It's like, I am. It's just voice problem. Yay.
Mhm. Mhm.
It really just saying that it's a commodity, saying that's just even with the suspension of disbelief, whenever we compare it to the real world and what again actual trans people go through, it's a bit on the infuriating side of the spectrum, because it's like, again, it's just the whole sideways bumper sticker.
Yeah,
It's
Whimsy.
the amount of effort that was put
Hey,
into it.
Whimsy, real quick. Hey, man. I mean, listen, babe. Let that shit out. You know what I mean? Like, you don't gotta. Hey, like you don't gotta posture for nobody on here. You know what I mean? Like, if that shit fucks you up, like, let that shit be known. Let your feelings known. Let your feelings be known. Like, this is the platform for that. I'm not about to judge you for nothing, and ain't nobody else here about to judge you for nothing. Not anybody on screen. Not anybody in the chat. You are fucking valid. All right? Your voice is fucking valid. Your voice is valid, and this is why we're here, to hear you, right? So it ain't no posturing on this side. You know what I mean? And if anybody got some shit to say about that shit, they could come to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Listen,
you dig?
listen.
So you know, that's the energy.
I am from New York. I will go find myself a pair of Timbs. I will put it on you.
Yeah, so
Don't
you know.
mess with me.
Yeah, so hey, Whimsy, like, don't worry about finding the words. Let that shit fly. You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck I'm saying half the time. so let it fly. Fuck it. Be raw and don't worry about getting in trouble. There's no getting in trouble here. So
Right.
fucking say what you gotta say. Say how you feel and don't filter that shit at all. Don't
In that
spare and
case-
certainly don't spare my cis feelings. I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
you're fine. You're fine.
yeah. So Whimsy, go ahead. And by the way, if this question was at all triggering or insensitive, I deeply apologize. I'm so sorry.
This is something that we couldn't really avoid whatsoever with it, because it is an essential part of the argument that defense for it's like, you know, the setting. And again, I'm a storyteller at heart. I may not have a published comic yet because I scrapped half the script from Heinen part way through writing it, but
It happens.
at the heart of it is a lot of, like, I know at least Kai and myself are storytellers with it.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you have a story, it's so interlocked into personal experiences, into what people have to go through every day of their lives. The writer, the creators, the people that actually put in the effort would reach out to others that have had these experiences, that have to go through this emotional turmoil, or have to go through this feeling or seeing. And then, again, just to Project Red, it's just like one effort to try and like reach out to a community, or to reach out to maybe people that you know in some way or form, that could have so easily fixed so much of this.
Mhm.
Just we touched on it before, but it just needs to be said that it really wasn't hard to just talk to people, to reach out to, hell, a fucking like a fucking survey could have even given at least a bit more information, or like interpersonal, like, share your stories, or like, we're trying to get this right, help us, or outright reaching out to other like transgender writers and creators, and so much of this could have been just avoided so easily. Like, all these polarizing views on it, it didn't have to be in this way if the effort was there.
Mm-hmm.
They spent 9 years on this. You can't say that they just didn't have it in the budget or didn't have the time for it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I might have gone off of it.
No,
there.
no, you're
No,
totally
you're fine.
fine. And Whimsy, thank you so much, and we really appreciate your viewpoint, your standpoint, just like I appreciate everybody here. You know what I mean? Like this is why this exists. Like this is why I made this. Everyone in the chat supports you. You know what I mean? I mean, us at Hearst Boys, like we try to cultivate a safe space. I know people say that shit. People throw that shit around a lot, right? But I mean, you know, the mods are on it. I'm on it. The boys are on it. So we're here. You know what I mean,
Good
Whimsy?
on you.
So
Good on you
yeah,
all.
so
At least,
we're fucking here. So yeah.
at least y'all are putting in the effort to try to make it decent.
Right.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, we're just trying our best. But okay. So with that said, we're at an hour and 21 minutes. So can we move on to the final question? And
Yeah.
oh,
Mhm.
actually, real quick, I just wanted to make make a point that Sangria Auntie,
Yeah.
my friend Lawrence made a pretty good point. I just want to read off what he said. I think saying that the world of Cyberpunk would make transness a commodity is a poor way of wording the statement. Quote, in a future where you can be anything you want, modern identifiers such as race, sex, gender, etc., become arbitrary to the point where it might not be culturally viewed the same way as it is today. End quote. The issue
Mhm.
is that the game is trying to present gender as a minor concept to an audience where gender is culturally an important concept, so the argument falls flat, as the consumer audience can't actually relate with the presented idea.
Yeah.
Saying
That
Yeah.
that's
That's
so
true.
well worded and so just like it's so well worded and so important to word it that way
Yeah.
because in that world things like things like your gender identity, your race, your religious identifier, it doesn't stop you from rising to the top in
Mhm.
that world, but it still becomes important.
Mhm.
It still becomes important because you can see it with, and I'm sorry if you haven't played the game chat, I apologize, but with Jackie, there's still
oh yeah,
culture. There's still his culture is still there.
Mhm.
His mother, and I'm not gonna say what exactly happens, but there's still the culture there. There's still cultural practices that she puts into
Right.
a moment in the game.
Mhm. Mhm.
So race does still play an important role. Gender is still going to play an important role.
Yeah. Okay.
Religion is still going to play an important role.
Okay.
And
So.
that the way that he worded it was so well worded
Mhm.
because it's defenders making light of a situation that is actually heavy.
Mhm.
Like it becomes that kind of thing.
Yeah. So let's go. So let's go to the final question here, and we're probably gonna go just a little bit over an hour and a half. But you know what? Maybe this final question can be the ender. If we just keep it to like maybe like one or two sentences or one or two ideas. If it's that light, because I think it's a pretty light question to end on. But if it's
Yeah.
heavier for if
Yeah.
it's heavier for y'all, we'll just take it. We'll just play it by ear. So the fifth and final question for today's stream is, what is the best way us cis hetero folks, and we've touched on this the entire episode, but what's the best way us cis hetero folk can show support for trans people that are affected by this game's apparent unsuccessful portrayal and commodification of transness, and how can we prevent this sort of thing in the future?
I actually think that one of your viewers had the perfect answer for that. Loop
Loop zop
Zop
wop, yes.
Mayo, for real, just talk to trans people and pay them for their time. That is the perfect,
Yup.
perfect solution.
Yup.
Reach out, listen. We're very vocal. Clearly, if trans people are being very vocal about how they fucked up, I'm pretty sure that they would have been vocal to have been paid for their time and brought in to at least screen this or be like, hey, is this a good representation? That it would have been that easy.
Okay,
Yup.
Skylark, Malcolm, anything? Or is
Um
that pretty much the gist of it?
That's literally what I was gonna
That-
say. I was gonna say, shut up, listen, and give money. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there is a more direct way. I don't think it was I think it's a great thing. I don't think it was done for the right reason. But there is a bundle on Itch.io right now that goes to trans creators and trans games, like games created by trans people and about trans people. If you look on Itch.io, I think it's one of the first bundles on the website somewhere. It's the same price as 2077. If you want to spend money.
If you Skylark, if you have like a link or whatever, send it. You could drop it in the chat or
Okay,
yeah.
I will try. I don't know if my internet's gonna like that very much, but I will try.
Okay.
If you want to drop another $70, if you bought the game and you want to drop another $70 to go towards trans people, that's a way to do it.
So
But,
actually,
like,
how do you spell it? Cause I could look it up here actually. How do you spell cause I could drop it in the chat myself. Like as you're explaining it, is there like how do you spell like Ichio?
Hold on. Let me see. It's itch.io.
Itch.io. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, itch.io. Oh, here we go. Okay, I found it. Okay. And
There's a lot of stuff.
yeah.
There's like
There's a
I'd
lot.
have to find the bundle, but
Okay,
it's
no worries. Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting. No worries. Go ahead.
no, it's fine. Heroic assets, winner sale.
Oh, Blue Sox just dropped the link to the site, but I can't find the particular bundle that Skylark just mentioned. But
I don't know where it is, but Blue Sox is Caleb. What's up, Caleb?
shout out Caleb. What's happening?
He's got my back. The three of us share a brain cell. It's three of us that share one brain cell. I'm taking it for the day.
Speaking of the other brain cell, I think Smoked Jellyfish just popped in too. So.
Yep, there he is. That's the other brain cell.
Yo, real quick, Smoked Jellyfish is the fucking hardest name I've ever read in my entire life.
Yeah.
Yo, what the fuck? Smoked Jellyfish. That shit is amazing. My shit is just my government, bro. I'm lame out here. I got fucking Smoked Jellyfish, bro. Shout out real quick. Hold on. That's still one of the hardest screen names I've ever read is fucking Roacher TV. Motherfucking name just Roach. That's amazing. I wouldn't fuck with a guy named Roach, and I certainly wouldn't fuck with somebody named Smoked Jellyfish. That's amazing. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. That's great.
Let's see.
But yeah, so while Skylark is actually on the hunt for this bundle, because I definitely want the link in the chat for sure. Malcolm, is there anything?
Found it.
Oh, okay, great. Fuck it. Great, that works out. Yeah.
It's okay. Keep going. I'll just put it in the chat.
I will say, I think I mentioned it earlier. It is not an RPG. It's a don't nod game. So if you don't like that kind of game, I can understand not when to play it. But Tell Me Why is a game that centers a trans character. It is a trans story. The actor, like I said, is a trans person that did the voice acting. He had a lot of input into how the character was developed, the dialogue. They worked with GLAAD to get. So I played the game. It has some issues, not nearly anywhere close to what's going on in Cyberpunk. So if that is something that you enjoy, that is a game that I would recommend.
Okay.
For you to play.
Cool.
All right, I dropped it in the chat. It's called "Be a Better Cyberpunk."
Oh wow, shade.
Wow.
The shade.
They were not playing around. They were like, Cyberpunk is like they were in that, the two camps, right?
Yeah.
I don't care and the I care a whole lot. They were like fully deep into the I care a whole lot.
Wait a minute. So this bundle includes everything I'm looking at, like.
Yep.
Like rooftop cop, visual out, transfer, null pointer, like.
Yep.
Oh my god.
These are not only trans creators, but it's people that don't support what CDPR did. Like they don't support that at all. So it's just a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of game developers, a whole bunch of artists, a whole bunch of writers that put all of their work into a bundle so that people can get it. And it's the same exact price as Cyberpunk.
Oh, that's amazing. I see some horror games in here. I'm definitely gonna play that shit.
Oh
Hell
yeah.
yeah. The 2901, yeah, that looks scary as hell. I'm definitely gonna play that shit. My executioner and I, what the fuck? That shit looks
I
creepy.
wanna get it so bad because I wanna get it because the games in it are
Mm,
some of the games in it are so good,
yeah,
and I want to play them on stream. No cap, I just want to play them on stream.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. The Enigma machine looks sick. Yeah, all this stuff looks really fucking sick. Yeah, wow.
hmm
Thank you for putting us on. That shit is
Yeah,
dope.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
I saw it in passing on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be one of those things where it's
Mhm.
like we're gonna do it better."
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it in the back of my mind, but I'm gonna keep scrolling."
Cool.
So that's why it took me so long to find it.
No, it's
Yeah.
totally fine. You're totally fine. Thank you. You just put me on because this is like fucking 20, this is almost 30 games. Like this is amazing.
Well, yeah,
Uh-huh.
But
awesome.
yeah, so
That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
came swinging.
yeah,
30 games for the same price as one.
yeah. No, yeah, that's a fucking steal. Like, yeah, of course, I'm gonna
Exactly.
fucking do this shit. But so okay, so I guess is it safe to play us out? We are now at an hour and 32 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, so.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you. First of all, thank y'all so much for joining me. This conversation was amazing. Listening to y'all give your perspective was fantastic, and I've definitely I feel like I definitely got some insight to some things that fucking Google wasn't gonna tell me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think it was really great, and I think it was really healthy. I think this conversation was very healthy. It got very heavy at times, but never to the point where somebody felt
Mm.
like unsafe or whatever. You know what I mean? Or like
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like ostracized for anything. So I think that was cool. This will not be the last time that that y'all will appear on the podcast. And if there's any, and y'all are in the Discord now, so we usually talk about we usually like we'll mention what we're gonna talk about on the podcast in the Discord. So if any of y'all wants to hop in on another episode, be my fucking guest, because you know. I would be doing the same thing Cyberpunk does if I only included y'all in the episode about fucking trans issues. You know what I mean? Like, I would be fucking commodifying y'all's voices and shit. So do not be shy. The Discord loves y'all because everyone in the chat is in the Discord. So
Aw.
our community is pretty tight. But yeah, thank y'all so much for joining us. Once again, hold on real quick. Let me just pull up the fucking the talk show intro. Once again, I am joined by Skylar, artist, comic creator, and streamer. I'm joined by Whimsy, artist, streamer, and game developer, and Malcolm, gamer and grad school student for mental health counseling. And their pronouns are right there on the screen. Their Twitter handles are right underneath their names and pronouns. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I have been Rainy. This has been another episode of the Hearst Boys Social Distancing Podcast, episode 22 on Cyberpunk 2077. And thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. And I will end the stream after y'all say y'all goodbyes.
See y'all
All right,
later.
thank you. See you later.